Picture this. It's a crisp Wednesday morning in November. You walk past your local Apple store and something feels different. New banners, rearranged tables, demo stations buzzing. That overnight retail reset usually means one thing. New hardware is about to drop. And if the whispers are right, Apple's lining up a surprisingly big November reveal with a few crowd pleasers queued up for early next year. Today, I'm walking you through everything that could be announced. What's real, what's rumored, and what's absolutely worth waiting for. Stick with me to the end, because the most jaw-dropping product on this list isn't a phone or a Mac. It's something a lot of us stare at all day. Quick note before we jump in. This is a rumor roundup built on credible reports, supply chain checks, and the usual pre-event smoke. Plans change, timelines slip. But the shape of what's coming is getting very clear, and some of it is way more exciting than anyone expected. Let's start with why people think something's happening in November at all. Two big signals. First, a quiet global retail refresh rumored for Wednesday, November 12th. Apple doesn't flip every store overnight for fun. Second, stock levels. When Apple lets inventory for certain products dry up across its site and retail partners, that's almost always a prelude to a refresh. Right now, the Apple TV 4K and HomePod Mini are getting oddly hard to find. That's the tell. And if those two are in play, what they're paired with starts to make a lot of sense. So, imagine an Apple TV that actually feels new, not just a spec bump, the kind of upgrade that makes your living room feel different. Reports point to a much faster chip inside, the kind of silicon Apple usually reserves for iPhones. Think console-grade graphics, serious boosts to gaming, and yes, real-time lighting effects like ray tracing that make games and animations look wildly more realistic. If you've ever wanted your Apple TV to do more than stream shows, this is the generation to pay attention to. And here's the kicker. This box is rumored to tie directly into Apple Intelligence, the company's new on-device AI push. Picture this. You press the Siri button and say, "Show me the latest episodes of the shows my friends are watching," or "Play something I'll like that I can finish in under 30 minutes," and it just gets it right. Context, taste, time, handled. The voice stuff matters, because when it's paired with better hardware, the Apple TV starts feeling less like a streaming dongle and more like the brain of your living room. There's even chatter about a front-facing camera. Built-in FaceTime on the big screen, gesture controls. Will Apple really put a camera in the box? Even insiders are torn, but the latest tvOS updates quietly added deeper camera support, and the idea of hands-free volume control or quick call check-ins from the couch is kind of irresistible. If the camera doesn't land this round, don't be shocked if Apple pitches a simple solution. Pair your iPhone as the camera instantly. Networking is rumored to get a serious upgrade too. Apple's own radio package with Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth, and Thread for smart home reliability. Translation: faster, steadier streaming, better game performance, snappier accessory control, and fewer drops on crowded networks. Some folks even think Apple could quietly enable support for higher than 4K output down the road as 8K slowly matures. Not promised, but Apple loves headroom. What about price? There's an older rumor that Apple could bring the Apple TV back down to that magical $99. That would be huge. Realistically, pricing depends on global costs and what chips make the cut. But even if it doesn't go that low, expect Apple to push the value hard. If gaming and Apple Intelligence really headline this thing, the pitch writes itself. And because Apple loves ecosystems, you don't launch a stronger Apple TV without a speaker to match. Enter the long overdue HomePod Mini refresh. The original came out 5 years ago. It desperately needs a bump in both brains and sound. This new one is rumored to get a faster chip, which matters not just for responsiveness, but for how it processes audio, room tuning, stereo pairing, even voice clarity at low volumes. The promise: better sound from the same small footprint. That's the win. There's more. Recent leaks suggest Apple will upgrade the ultra-wideband tech inside, so handoff from your iPhone should get more precise. You walk into the room, music flows to the HomePod instantly. You get close, your phone knows exactly where that speaker is. Combined with Apple's latest wireless radios, again, think Wi-Fi 7 and Thread, you're looking at smoother whole home audio, faster smart home response, and fewer annoying hiccups. As for colors, a new red option keeps popping up in the rumor mill. Simple, bold, very Apple. If they keep the price around $99, this one's going to move. Now let's talk about something tiny that millions of people actually use every day. AirTag. Version 2 is reportedly ready to go, and this time Apple isn't just focusing on find your stuff. They're also trying to make it harder for anyone to use trackers the wrong way. The new model is said to include a next-gen ultra-wideband chip with better range and more precise direction finding. Leaks have floated up to 3x range, which would be a major jump. Imagine pinpointing your keys through a wall or tracking a suitcase through the thickest crowd at the airport with a more reliable directional arrow. But the safety story is just as important. The first AirTag was great at finding things, and a little too easy to misuse. Reports point to Apple reworking the speaker system and the internal structure to make tampering harder and alerts tougher to silence. There's also been back and forth about a rechargeable design versus the replaceable coin cell. A rechargeable battery could reduce moving parts and improve water resistance, but only if Apple can deliver months of life per charge. Whichever way they go, the message is clear. Better finding for you, better protection for everyone. Okay, that's the November trio a lot of people expect. Apple TV, HomePod Mini, AirTag. But if you're wondering, is that it? Don't. Because the runway between now and early next year looks very busy. There's a new entry-level iPhone shaping up that could surprise people, the model many leakers call the iPhone 17e. Think of it as Apple's $600 gateway iPhone. Familiar build, smarter guts. The big story here is Apple finally unifying the front design. Rumors say goodbye to the notch, hello to the dynamic island across the entire lineup. It makes sense. At this point, the island isn't a Pro feature. It's the iPhone's new face. Add Apple's newest A-series chip, likely branded A19 by then, and a more efficient modem, and you get something important. A cheaper iPhone that doesn't feel left behind on day one. Not flashy, just solid, fast, and set up to run Apple Intelligence without weird compromises. Speaking of about time, Apple is also expected to bump the base iPad to a chip that supports Apple Intelligence. Last year's model skipped AI features entirely, which felt off. This time, the pitch is simple. The most affordable iPad can finally do the new Siri, on-device smarts, and generative niceties people actually want to try. If you're a student, a parent, or someone who just needs a living room tablet, that matters more than another 10% of raw speed. Up a tier, the iPad Air is rumored to jump to M4. Yes, Apple keeps putting desktop-class chips in tablets. Yes, that sounds like overkill. But if two things happen, better AI features and smarter Pro apps, the Air becomes the sweet spot again. You don't need to replace your laptop for this to make sense. You just need animations that never stutter, edits that never lag, and battery that lasts all day. Now for the laptops. MacBook Air looks set for an M5 update on a fairly normal cadence. Expect better efficiency, better sustained performance, and the same beloved design. Great machine, no drama. MacBook Pro is where things get interesting. The near-term rumor is a silent spec bump, M5 Pro and M5 Max in the familiar body for people who want raw power right now. But the medium-term rumor, this is the one lighting up group chats, points to a more dramatic redesign on the horizon. Thinner chassis, OLED display for deeper blacks and insane contrast, promotion at 120 Hz, obviously. And yes, multiple reports have floated touch input finally coming to the Pro. Will Apple actually do it? Behind the scenes, they've been testing touch and OLED for years. If they can nail color, brightness, and battery life in a true Pro package, this becomes the biggest MacBook shift since the Apple Silicon transition. If you can wait for the redesign, it could be worth it. If you need horsepower today, the M5 refresh is going to be a beast. All right, you stayed. Here's the part display nerds, and honestly, anyone who stares at a monitor 8 hours a day should get very excited about. Apple displays. Plural. First, the Studio display. It's been almost 4 years. Rumors suggest Apple keeps the sweet spot 27-inch 5K resolution, but swaps the standard LCD for mini LED with tons of local dimming zones. Translation: way better contrast, deeper blacks, less blooming, and HDR that actually looks like HDR. If pricing lands anywhere near the current model, this could become the default monitor for creatives, coders, and anyone who wants a Retina desktop without buying an iMac. Then there's the big one, the Pro Display XDR successor. Picture a 32-inch 6K panel with more dimming zones, higher sustained brightness, richer color volume, and, finally, 120 Hz ProMotion. Smooth scrolling, buttery animations, accurate color, and enough headroom for serious HDR work. Leaks have hinted at built-in webcam support this time, and if Apple adds a proper audio system as well, that fixes two of the biggest pain points on the current XDR. It's the kind of monitor that makes your whole setup feel new before you even touch the computer. It won't be cheap. It also won't have real competition if Apple nails it. Let's zoom out. If Apple does launch the Apple TV, HomePod Mini, and AirTag in November, they'll be framing something bigger. Apple intelligence in the home and on the go. The Apple TV becomes a smarter hub. HomePod becomes a better listener and a better speaker. AirTag becomes more useful and more respectful. Then, as we move into early next year, the base iPhone, the base iPad, and the iPad Air all join the AI party. Macs get faster now than prettier later. And those displays? They're the silent flex for anyone who spends their life at a desk. What should you do with your money? If you're streaming and gaming curious, wait a beat for the new Apple TV. If you've got an older speaker setup or the current HomePod Mini just never wowed you, the refresh could be the small upgrade that makes a big difference in your day. If you're tracking important stuff, luggage, cameras, bikes, AirTag 2 is worth waiting for purely for the safety improvements. If you need a phone under $700, keep an eye on that entry iPhone next year. It won't be glamorous, but it should be dependable and smart. If you want an iPad primarily for home use, hold for the base model with AI support. If you're a student or light creative, the iPad Air with M4 will be a monster value. For laptops, be honest about your timeline. If you need power in the next few months, M5 MacBook Pro should deliver. If you can wait for the rumored redesign, you might be rewarded with a generational leap in display quality and input flexibility. And if a monitor is your next big buy, seriously consider pausing for the new Studio Display or XDR successor. Your eyes will thank you. Here's the fun part. Apple's been quiet about TV and audio for too long. A November push says they're serious about your living room again. And if this lineup hits, your next binge night might look sharper, sound better, and respond faster than you've ever experienced from Apple's ecosystem. I'm curious, what's your personal must-buy from this list? The smarter Apple TV? A better sounding HomePod Mini? AirTag 2 with stronger safety? Or are you holding out for those new displays? Drop your pick and tell me what would make it an instant purchase for you. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want clean, no-nonsense updates as these products roll out, hit subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss the follow-ups. I'll be tracking pricing, early impressions, and whether the rumors actually match reality. Thanks for hanging out. Stay tuned. The next few weeks could be a lot more interesting than anyone expected.